Black Gemara. I am now in the hospital with my father. We just added a name, Rabbi Srol David Nachman Ben Yecheva Chipra. And the schools of our daf today, they will hopefully should have a refuah shalem of the Kor of Mamish. To say quickly a nice word. My father was a very original thinker. Is an original thinker. And once he said, we're learning Gittin now, followed by Kedushin. So under the chuppah we say, Hare Atma Kadeshes Li Das Moshe Yisrael. At is the letters Aleph and Taf. Aleph is the beginning of the Aleph Beis, and Taf is the very last letter of the Aleph Beis. Li, Lamed is the tallest letter of the Aleph Beis, and Yud is the shortest. And the question is, how do two people who are strangers to each other come out that the distance between them could be from an Aleph to a Taf, from a Lamed to a Yud? So how does them make sure that the marriage works? Is if Kedas Moshe Yisrael, if the house is built on Yeseda Torah Mitzvah, built on Torah Mitzvahs, and you have the bedrock of that family, of that union, is Torah Mitzvahs, then you know that even the Aleph and Taf, the Lam and Yud, will work out. Okay, today's daf is Daf Samach Zayin Amar Aleph, Sech Gittin, and the last thing we learned was that Rabbi Yossi holds two things. Rabbi Yossi holds that mili lememsel shliach. That means you cannot. A shliach does not have the capacity to take the words and pass it on to another person, instruct someone else. It can only take something tangible and pass it like a get that's already written and pass it on to somebody else. And the second thing is that Oymed Imru, even if he gave instructions to the shliach to pass it on to somebody else, he cannot do that. But Shmuel disagrees, and that is why Rabbi Yossi is the one who says that a sefer can be the witness, because there's no way that there will ever be any problems that the witnesses that the shliach might ask the sefer to write it, even though the husband didn't ask, because we know the only way that anybody can get instructions is directly from the husband, so nothing can go awry. Shmuel, on the other hand, agrees with Rabbi Yossi that mili lamemsel shliach, but nevertheless, Shmuel holds that Oymed Imru does work. So if you gave a shliach instructions, I want you to tell this for sefer to write a get, Oymed Imru works. Now the Gemara has a discussion whether if it works, is it still a good thing to do, or is it better preferred not to do it? So the Gemara is 15 lines on top of the page. First the Gemara goes off and digresses. Gufa, let's analyze what you said. Amar Shmuel said, Amar Rebbe, in the name of Rebbe, that halacha ke Rabbi Yossi. The halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, the Amar who says, mili lo nimtzu l'shliach. The words cannot be transferred from the shliach to anyone else. So he asked a very simple question. So Amar l'fana Rav Shimon ben Rebbe, Rebbe's son Rav Shimon turned to his father and said, I don't understand. In the Mishnah we had the mayor who disagreed. We had this person on the behalf of Rabbi Akiva, the Chanina, Ish Oina, who disagreed. So why do you follow Rabbi Yossi rather than these two people? Rabbi Yossi, they argue, Rabbi Yossi, true, Rabbi Yossi is saying in the name of Rabbi Akiva. But so did Chanina Ish Oina. So why did you deem it fit to paskin like Rabbi Yossi rather than the others? Amalai, he said, Shtoik b'ni shtoik. He said, my son, don't ask such questions. You know why? Because you never encountered Rabbi Yossi personally. If you would have seen Rabbi Yossi, you would have seen how logical and rational he is. And you see that whatever he says is with hand and fist. He always comes with, and he always with pure logic that makes sense. The Tanya we learned, a very interesting brisa in others Rab Nassim. Isa ben Yehuda hayamayna shvachan shel chachamim. Isa ben Yehuda once nominated the different praises for the chachamim. Rab Meir was a chacham and a sefer. We learned during the Gemara where Rab Meir said that he was a sefer, that he is to count. The two versions of the Gemara there where he was telling it to Rabbi Shmuel or to Rabbi Akiva. So he was a chacham and a sefer. Rabbi Yehuda was a chacham l'kishe yirtza, very strange expression. Rabbi Yehuda was a chacham when he wanted to be. Rashi seems to be saying that Rabbi Yehuda was a chacham when he wanted to be, and when he decided, to give a yishuv adas and to analyze it, he'd be a chacham. Some Taisa seem to say that if he really sat down and analyzed it, he could be superior to Rab Meir. Even though the Gemara Erev said Rab Meir was so exceedingly superior to everybody else. He's super to everyone else, that you couldn't paskin like him because no one can understand it. He was able to be metayir a sheretz, to find a sheretz kosher with 150 different reasons. Actually, the beautiful word in Pirkei Avos it says, "Al tastakel bekankan el yesh boy." Don't look at the barrel, look what's inside it. So somebody once said, "Kan is kufnun 150. Al tastakel bekankan." Don't look at the fact that a mayor was able to use 150 reasons to legitimize or to purify a sheretz. He's trying to say how you're supposed to learn and take every idea and analyze it backwards and forwards, positive and negative, till finally you get to the truth and understand what the Torah means. Others say that Yehuda was a chacham the Aruch says, down him the Shabbos, that every time he opened his mouth, he was a chacham. In fact, we had Gemara Shabbos, he was always the Reish Medabrim. He was always the first one to speak at any conference. Rab Tarfon was a Gaul Shalagoizim. The Yerushalmi said Rab Tarfon was the father of Klal Yisrael, an amazing expression. We find that with very few people. It says regarding Rab Tarfon, he was the father of Klal Yisrael. Here it says he was a mountain of nuts, which if you pull one nut out, all the nuts fall down with it. That whatever you asked him, he was able to throw on it, Mishnah and Gemara and everything else to explain what the reason is. To answer your question. Rabbi Shmuel was a Chanas Muzayenis. It was a store that was filled with stock. Any question he asked, he had what to answer. And we had, Rabbi Meir, first he learned by Rabbi Shmuel, and then he learned by Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva was an oitzer balloon. Rabbi Akiva was an oitzer that was the division. Interesting. But Rashi explains it that when Rabbi Akiva learned, everything was muddled, everything was together. And then afterwards he sorted out and he put parked Mishnah over here, and he parked Shakatari over here, Sipra over here, Sipri, he separated afterwards. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was a Kupas Arechlin. He was a box full of samples, like the people who peddlers who go around, they had samples of everything all sorted out separately. It's hard to see from Rashi which level was greater, Rabbi Akiva, or Rashi just says that the praise for Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is not exactly the same as Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva first learned all mixed together and then he separated it. Doesn't necessarily mean that's an advantageous or disadvantageous. It's just they had a different way of learning. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri compartmentalized everything from the beginning. Rabbi Akiva first put everything together and then he compartmentalized it. So maybe he had a good overview first. We had more of a Zoda. First you should learn everything with Yirsa, and then afterwards try to understand. So maybe in a way it's better when you have a good overview of everything, because everything overlaps, and then afterwards you sort it all out. The next one was Rabbi Elazar ben Azai with the Kupish of Summit. He was a box at home of different spices. Again, he had samples, but didn't have as much an array as Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So this is a step lower. Mishnah's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, not Kavanagh. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he didn't learn as much as they, he didn't teach as much as they, but everything he said, that's the halacha. Rabbi Yasi is Namuki Ima. He always had logic to back up whatever he said. Rabbi Shimon, Teichen Harba, he ground a lot, Umoitzi Kiman. A little bit escaped him, a little bit forgot. But what did he forget? Tana, Mishnah Kim, he forgot a little bit. Umasha Moitzi, and a Moitzi Lusumin. What he forgot was only the brand, only the parts that were impure. The chain, in fact, Omar Rab Shimon Tamid, Bana, my children, Shonu Midoisai, I want you to study my ways of learning. Midoisai is Trumas Midoisai Akiva. I took the best of Akiva, the creme de la creme, and that is what I am passing on to you. A little bit hard to understand. Like Rabbi Yosef says, don't mention it in the Sefer, don't mention humble humility, because that's who I am. Rab Shimon Yochai, I guess this is as Chassidus explains. Like the idea of humility is not that you don't know your place. You know your place. You just don't give you some credit because Abishna gave you special kreiches. Gupa, let's analyze what we learned on top of the page. Omar Leshnayim, he told two people, Imru, he told two people, I want you to pass on these instructions from the Sefer to the Sefer, the Yichtef, you should write the get. And then Luplain, I want you to pass on instructions. So he had a shlich and he gave him a set of instructions. For Sefer and for Eidin, the Echel should sign. Kosher, it is kosher. It's not a good thing to do. We discourage it. I don't understand. Others say, I don't understand. Kosher, if you're telling me that it's 100% kosher, telling, instructing the Sefer and instructing the Eidim, so why are you discouraging it? Because a problem can arise. You know what the problem could be? That the wife will hire somebody to go around and say to two Adim, the husband sent me to instruct you, since they don't need instruction directly from the husband. So the husband sent me to direct you and go to the Sefer and give a get to this woman, and the woman will have a get. We are worried. Shema, perhaps Tiskait Adim, she will hire witnesses, and because she will hire witnesses to get a shliach to hire witnesses, instruct the witnesses, and instruct the and so on and so forth. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? That's it. They're saying in the name of the husband. Are we worried? But Tanya, we learned if witnesses were signed on a contract, a sale contract of a property, or I get Isha and the divorce of a woman, that's it. We can recognize the signatures. We pass the get and we authenticate it. Why aren't you worried that maybe they're false witnesses? There's a big difference. In your case, the witnesses, you think the witness will sign false. To that extent, nobody will go. But if a shliach was just told, hired by this woman, just tell these people that they were meant to be witnesses. The people who are going to sign think that generally they were instructed to become witnesses, so they'll sign. The shliach, all he's doing is giving false news, or he's making false instructions, but he doesn't feel so guilty because he didn't do anything wrong. He just said something in the world, of hyperbole. So what it says here. It's much easier for people to lie than for people actually to make us to write and pull and prejudice themselves. So you want to find. Okay, so there everyone said it's not a good idea. What about Amru Shnayim, Imru L'Seifer, V'yichtav Atach? What about, where he told two witnesses, you be the witnesses, but I want you to find a Seifer for me and to write the get. Hey, what are you worried about? What can go wrong? So why is there an opinion that says that you should be discouraged that as well? The agent has to be directed from the husband himself. So what can be wrong here? I still maintain you shouldn't do it. Go ahead and no problem. Don't do it. You know why the opinion said you shouldn't do it? Because if we allow this, the next step is we're going to allow also people are going to think that you can also hire agent. And therefore, they're going to start casting all kinds of aspersions that maybe this get is not true. Maybe the woman hired Adim, and the best way is just not to have her. And but others change the names around. But that's why we have a machlekes, at least when it comes to Adim, he directly tells the Adim, but he instructs him to find the safe. There's no real problem there, other than how far away is this from actually people thinking that you can also instruct Adim, that maybe the wife hired Adim and so on. So the Mishnah concluded, you told 10 people, please forget, right again. We already had a whole discussion, we are on the second page, about whether you need all 10 to sign or just in front of the 10. But the Mishnah said, if you told 10 people, Kulchem to write again, they all have to be the same mother. So you told 10 people, please forget, write again, but to least you give it to my wife, what happens? All 10 have to write? No, one of them writes on behalf of them all. But if he says kulchem kasuluv, he says I want all of you to write. Again, doesn't necessarily mean all of them should write. It means echad kaisef b'ma'amad kulum. In front of all 10, one of them should write, and one of them should write. What about haylichai? And the same thing with the signing the witness. What about two sign in front of all of them? Haylichai get least. If he said I want you to bring a get to my wife, and there was a room full of people that want you to bring a get to my wife, one that does it, I'm half everyone. But if he says, I want all of you to bring this get to my wife, those I want to publicize, everyone should know my wife's divorced, then one person brings it on behalf of everyone. Said the Gemara, we have an interesting question. What about Mana Oysen? He started counting, and there were 10 people in the room, he counted 5. Wow, how do we treat that? Says the Gemara, if he started counting and then he stopped, I'll tell you how we read into it. He was going to say all 10. He stopped after 5, thinking, it's way too difficult. And you don't even need all 5 to sign. 2 is enough. And that's it. Mana is just like all of you. Okay, I jumped a little bit ahead, but the difference is whether he counted all 10 or he all counted 5. This is how we explain it. There's different ways. One person learns it one way and one person learns another way. One person learns, if you counted only 5, you really wanted 10, but then you gave up. So now what's therefore, even though you counted 5, all we need is 2.
But if you counted 10, then we need all 10 to sign. The other opinion is lahagi is the other way around. If you count to 10, you don't need all 10. Because otherwise, why didn't you just say kulchan? Why did you say kulchan? But if you count 5, that means you want all 5 to sign. Now, Iskin Ab Yehuda Begittin, if a person goes into a room and he says, okay, I want to get to be written, I want to get to be written, I want to avoid the problem of kulchan. Because if you said kulchan, or one of them dies, one of them doesn't sign, the whole get unravels. So therefore, Yehuda made takana. That if he said in front of a room, I want to get to be written, then we want to avoid the problem of kulchan. So therefore, but maybe he intended kulchan, even though he didn't say the word kulchan, maybe that was intention. We don't want anybody to cast aspersions on the get. So this is what we incorporate the get. We write, you write the kulchem kesubu. I'm writing kulchem, and what I mean is oy kulchem, oy kol chad v'chad min chay. Kesubu. Kulchem v'chay. I want one of you to write, or all of you to write. Nobody wants to write. Then chasumu, he says chasumu to sign. Oy kulchem, oy kol trei min chay. Either all of you sign, or at least 2 of you can sign. You spell it out, tease it out of the person. You write that in the get, so nobody can cast this person. Oh, he meant all of them. I want you to bring it to my wife. You can be involved. Even one of you is enough. Oh, my Rabbi says, Rabbi, it's a problem. You're adding all these extra words. What happens if Satan forgets to add these extra words? Zimni, the guy in the morning, he'll chop up his words. He'll say kulchain. Let's say you'll tell the Sefer to write kulchain. He'll write kulchain. He didn't write, or at least one of you. Ruin the whole get. This is what you write. Don't put the word kulchad in. He says here, what you do is you write ksubu kolchad mechai. Any one of you can write it. Chasumu kol trei mechai. Any 2 of you can sign. Oivilu kolchad mechai. Even any one of you can bring this get. That's how we do it. Hadin halach ha'oimel. This finishes the 5th page. Now we start at the 6th page. It says the Gemara. Start 7th page. Bisha arzu. Somebody his seed by Kodiyakir. Kodiyok is the name of a spirit, of a demon, or just some kind of melancholy, or some, I guess, disorder, mental disorder. And Ba'amad, he says, Kisru getli ishli. So we say that he's not in full capacity of his intellect at this moment, and therefore, Le'amaklum. The Rambam actually, who doesn't talk about shading or about zikim, he talks about it here. He's talking about you have a fit or a seizure of melancholy or some kind of mental breakdown or depression. The Rambam in the 3rd period in Shabbos, where he talks about extinguishing a life, and there he talks about a sickness, he talks about depression. He really recognizes that depression is a mental illness, which is a recent innovation, and he talks about it already back then. Shabbos, 3rd page. And here also, you're writing it to my oracle, I don't take it seriously. What happened? He was totally sane when he said it. And then, but also, suddenly he was fit. He had this kind of a fit. I said, no, I canceled what I said. When his last words were. The static, sometimes it became mute. But on the line, I said to him, should we write to get to your wife? He nodded with his head. Question is it full capacity or not, because he cannot speak. Again, the doctor was telling me that even though my father is in a coma, they say that he can hear everything, and they actually insist that we should talk to him, learn with him, play the gunim that he used to hear when he was well, and this because he can hear everything, and he just has to decide to come out of his coma. But he should speak. He tested 3 times.
No unanswered issue, then we know that he's full capacity. We should write and give. Says the Gemara, my kurdiyakis. What is this kurdiyakis? He said that he receives with his kurdiyakis. How much more the nachse? This is a person who was like bitten, or he that he has this addiction. He drinks this raw wine, the matzarta directly out of the vat, didn't have a chance to ferment. Says the Gemara, so why call it kudiyok? Because at least the Mishnah just say he drank this new wine. That this spirit is known as kudiyokis. Why do we need to know the name of this shed? With Kameya. They used to write amulets, and then the amulets to bring the different chants and to get rid of this particular shed. You had to know his name. Maya Susa, what is the cure? Bisra Sumka, red meat. The Rashi says lean meat. Agumra, placed on coal. The Chamra Marka, and then diluted wine. A heavily diluted wine. And that is somehow the remedy. That my foster mother, the one who raised me, we have a Baya saying this on a number of occasions throughout Shas. She was a very intelligent woman. Lishimsha Bas Yemim, if somebody has a fever 1 day old, it's Kuza the Mai, drink water. Bas Trei Yemim, if the fever is 2 days old, Sikure, let the blood. Bas Tlosa Yemim, if 3 days old, Bisra Sumka, this red lean meat, Agumra on coal, the Chamra Marka, and this diluted water. The Shimsha Atikta, the fever is raging on for a while. Leisa Tana, now this is a very interesting remedy. Leisa Tana, go to Uchmasa, bring a black hen, the Likadesh Siva rip it apart horizontally and vertically. The Galchil Mitziosa, the Reisha, go to a sick person and shave the middle of the head. The Leisva Alaya places black hen on top of that, the Ninchalaya on the head, add the Misach until the blood gets thick and congealed, gets stuck to the head. The Lind Chais and the Leikum and Maya. So then we go ahead. We set him down and we place him in water. Ad Savori till his neck. Ad the Cholish Alma Alay until he feels very faint in the heart. And then we tell him the lema, she goes swimming. The Lesalik Velasiv, he should get up and he should sit down. That's the remedy. The E lawyer, if that doesn't work, Lechel Karsi doesn't have access to this hen, eat leak. The Lein Chais, again, the Lake of Amai place, sit him down, and he should stand up in the water, Ad Savori until his neck, Ad the Cholish Alma Alay until he feels faint in the heart. And the lame when he swims, when the salag is out, the lasis is down. Now the shimsha we just mentioned before, for a fever, we take a 3-day fever. Bisla sumka agumre, we place this lean red meat on coal. The chamra mark and the heavily diluted wine. But letalga, if somebody has the cold or I guess chills, is bisla shmena pufaket. You take fatty meat, agumre placed on coal. The chamra and raw wine, undiluted wine. Rav Amram Chasida, Rav Amram the Chassid, he had a mitzayel leberej gelusa. The family of the Reish Gelusa used to mitzayel. We learned before, sometimes the Reish Gelusa were good people, sometimes they weren't. And even if they was a good person, the people who worked for the Reish Gelusa were not necessarily good people. So what happened was they didn't like Mar Ukve, they didn't like Rav Amram because he was very machmir on them. So they used to have a meganele at Tilga. They made him sleep in the snow, so he got the chills. Lamacha, the following day, Omru le, my nichele lemad, the Laisle, what antidote do you want? What remedy do you want? Amar, he thought to himself, Hani, these people are such a Rishoyim, Koda Aminu Lu, but I tell them to do the converse. So Omru, he told them, Bista for a cold, we know you need fatty meat on undiluted wine. He told them, give me Bista Sumka, give me lean meat, agumre that was grilled on coal, the Chamra Mark and heavily diluted wine. And what happened? Sure enough, Aisle Inus, then not only was he a tzaddik and else he's a chacham, Aisle Inu Bisishman, they brought a fatty meat, a gumen on coal, the Chamra Chia and undiluted wine, and that's what he did. It was a remedy. Shama Yalta was the daughter of the Reish so the wife of Machman. She's a tough lady, as you know, from the beginning of Brachas and onward, very tough lady. And they brought. She organized, and she wasn't intimidated by these Afadim. She was the daughter of the Reish Gelusa. These Maile Beit Mesusa brought her into the bathhouse. Umukmale the Maile Beit Mesusa put Rav Amram into the water of the Beit Mesusa. Adam Habchamay Mesusa until the water was transformed. Avidoma, it all became red from the blood. And the Koibise Pshite Poshit, and his flesh then became full of all kinds of marks and circles. Rabbi Yosef, what Rabbi Yosef, you have to generate a sweat to cleanse. As my doctor used to say when I was young, my mother took me to the doctor thinking that I used to sweat a lot profusely. She got scared, and the doctor said it was the best thing. It cleans out all your pores. So Rabbi Yosef, he used to work with a mill and work very hard. so that he should generate a sweat. Aerobics. Rav Sheshes the Asi Bikshur, he used to carry heavy beams. Omar Gedoyle Melocha Shebechamemes is Bailas. Good hard work, manual work, because it heats up and it warms up the person who's doing it. Omar Gus Rav Sheshes. My time will aside my Gamon. He once Rav Sheshes was blind. Why don't you join us ever for a meal? You're invited a number of occasions. He told him the truth. Lemalo Avde, your servants are not good people. The Chashidi Avim Achai. We are worried about Avim and Achai. Omale, he said, who told you that they will give the limb of a living animal and cook it? No way. Leave it to me, I will prove it to you. He said to his Gabbai, Zil Gnoiv. He said to the Gabbai, do me a favor, go ahead and steal one of the legs. Bring me one of the legs of the animal that they shechted. Brought him. And he hid it. He turned to the servants of the Reish Musa. But you know what? Show me the parts that you cut up from this animal. I said they brought Klas Kari. They brought 3 legs. I see the Kameh. They placed it in Port of Sheshes. But this animal had 3 legs, and so is a Balmum. So they went and cut off. I said they cut off a living animal a leg. I see the Kameh, placed it before him. And then the Rav Sheshes said to his servant, the Shammai, the servant, he said, bring out the leg that you hid. Place it. This animal has 5 legs. He said, if so. So the Reish Musa said to Rav Sheshes, okay, I see what you're saying. You cannot trust my people. If so, la'avdi kamei, why don't you put your Gabbai there? Let him be the mashgiach, and he will watch. So have a mashgiach there. Good. They brought a plate for him, and they were so upset that Rav Sheshes, and they knew that he was blind. But Isaac Kameh, they brought before him bisa. They brought before him meat, and Vaisila Kameh Ristana the Chanka Chamsa. They put before him the flesh, but there's a bone there that's very small. Then it goes unobserved. If Sheshes is blind, you wouldn't see it, and usually you choke on it. And they place it right before him. Gotchashe, he touched it with his hand. He was suspicious. And the shakla, he took the entire piece of meat, wrapped it up in a kerchief, and he hid it. The bus of the achol, and they saw that. Amrulay, so the guy, the shamashim, said to him, "He got a long cost of the kasper. You know what? A silver becher was stolen. We had to check everybody's bags. But how did they come in? While they were checking everybody's bags, but also ashku the krucha besud. They saw what was wrapped up in his. That's what excuse they used to see his bag, and they saw wrapped up in this kerchief was this meat. Amrulay chazi madaloy. So they turned to the Jerusalem. Look, he didn't eat. He didn't eat from what we gave him. Obviously, his only intent is to cause us pain. He said to them, I ate the meat, the time of a time in the chibra, and I tasted in the meat the taste of something of all kinds of boils, which is very unhealthy, and that's why I didn't eat it. So they said to him, what are you talking about? Today, maybe other days, yes, but today when we shechted to make sure that it was flawless and there was no shchinde, there was no leprosy, nothing. Amalu, he said, go check it out. Because the Amar Rav Chizda, he said, check out the animal you just did. So he said, the Amar Rav Chizda said, Uchma bechibra, if you find black spots on white skin of an animal, or Uchmas, or chibra buchmas, they say white spots on black skin, lukusi, it's kind of form of leprosy. But if they went out, Ashken, they found it's exactly as Rav Sheshes said. And whether it was always that way or they actually made a nest for Rav Sheshes that he can prove his point is not clear. They were so angry with him, he proved them wrong again. So what they did was these avodim of the Reish Galusa, they dug a hole in the ground and they covered it with a mat. And they wanted, because he couldn't see, he'll walk and he'll fall right into the hole through this mat. So they said to him, Rabbi, why don't you sit down? Why don't you sit down? and walk over here. Come over here. We have a chair for you, all organized. And obviously, you had to walk over the mat to get to that chair. Rav Chizda sort of groaned, or like, from behind. He got suspicious straight away. He turned around to a kid who happened to be the guy. What do you learn in yeshiva today? And we had more chulin that, so the Vias Kana falls in the hand of young kids. Amalei, they said to him the following pasuk. They tried to kill Avner there. They said to him, they said, why don't you go to your right, or go to your left? And so right away he understood that he had to go around the mat. Amalei L'Sham, he said to the guy, what do you see in front of us? Amalei, see piece of the shadi. I see this mat lying there. Amalei Hadaminei, stay away from it. And it went around. The bus of the Nuffic, and after he was saved, he went around. Amalei, how did you know? Amalei said, first of all, I recognize you're grown over there. I knew exactly you were trying to pass a message on to me, number one. But the pasli nukatsuka I had in the dias from this child. But furthermore, the chashidi avdi deloy ma'alu. I suspected them from the outset. Therefore, I did what I did. But anyway, so we brought this whole story just to talk about over here as well, about the different remedies for this, for these different things, for cold and for Rab Amram. Because of the cold, this is what they had to have: fatty meat and diluted wine. Okay, have a good day, have a good Shabbos. I'll see you next time.